Welcome to the We Fucking Love Startups podcast. I'm your host, Troy Hammond, and on today's episode, we're chatting with Justin Soong. Justin is the co-founder and CEO of Authsignal, and essentially Authsignal is taking passwords away from us. It's helping security, it's helping with FinTech, and it's really exciting. It's born out of New Zealand, and it's going to potentially be $1 billion software. And so I'm chatting with Justin, who I've known for a long time. I've known him from the early days of when I first set up Telenom, and I've sort of watched his career over time, and it's really escalated to the point where he's actually got his own thing now. That thing is blowing up, and so I'm really curious to see how that happened, what he's done, what he's learnt, and what he can share with the rest of us. Looking forward to chatting with Justin, and so let's jump on and have a chat with him now.
Kia ora. Thanks for tuning in to the We Fucking Love Startups podcast, brought to you by Talent Army.
Have you ever worked in Australasia Ventures, man, or in this building before?
I've been in a few times to have chats with people and begged for money.
Yeah. How does that feel like as someone who's been an employee for a long time? Like, you find yourself in the seat where you actually have to ask for money. Is that a big change, or?
It's a new perspective. I think a new appreciation for what a founder and what a CEO does, right? And there is pressure. There is a mantle that you are tasked with and huge responsibility. But I think, and that's the reason why I think I've really timed when I actually start up. It's been a big passion of mine for a long time. But
I always wanted to be a founder?
I've always, when I was 12, I wanted to be Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Like a 12-year-old having a poster of Bill Gates.
Did you have a poster?
No, on my wallpaper. No, just kidding. But look, it was a big aspiration, but I think I've been very lucky to sit under like just pretty radical founders and CEOs, kind of see how they operate, learn from where I thought they could kind of, have done better. Look, everyone can do better.
Yeah.
And, I think it's great timing for me to step out, and it's been a great journey so far.
That's a big call though, man. Like, because you've been in some great roles, and
we've been chatting for a long time and having, obviously different relationships throughout the year with Dan up here in Auckland, from being a candidate all the way to hiring, right? So I think those, like the advice I give to people is working for someone is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
In fact, when you're trying to build a business and trying to tell your story, having those experiences actually counts for a lot, and it's what you make out of it. If you can learn quickly from those experiences, then you're going to get somewhere.
Yeah, man, it's cheaper to fuck up too when it's not your company.
Yeah. I've made a few of those, but we'll keep that quiet.
Yeah. So where did it start for you? Where was the first role that you were like, right, this is starting to come together now?
Yeah. So I went to uni, did computer science and economics, entered the entrepreneurship club, did all those things. So I've always, as mentioned, always thought that, someday I'm going to start my own business. And some of my peers have gone on to do some great things out of that cohort, right? But I went straight to work for the big corporate enterprise. Went to Hewlett-Packard, if people actually know who that company is now, HP.
Yeah. It's funny that you can say like HP now, and some young people might be like, who's that company?
Yeah, printers is the only thing that they're known for still, right?
Yeah.
And look, as a young buck, you want to get your foot in the door somewhere. So that's how I sort of got myself into the trade, which is as a developer. And then what I found was you need to be good at a segment and industry, and I fell into the FinTech space through HP.
Yeah.
And from then I pretty much got typecasted into FinTech roles all the way through, right? And very quickly, I went to another corporate, NZX, a stock exchange in Wellington. I think that's, when that's when you guys jumped on the scene as well, about 10, 15 years ago. And look, people were trying to build apps. People were trying to do SaaS apps and trying to be a little bit radical with the digital platforms. And from then, I sort of hooked on kind of some of the IPO waves that were happening. So Orion Health, I did a stint there, but then Harmoney was when I guess I really got into the weeds of a early stage startup, and it was pretty fun.
What do you? Because there's lots of people listening to this, right? That working in corporate and flirting with going into a startup, and they ask advice all the time. Like, what were the things that really like? Oh, this is different, you know, when it comes from corporate to startup land.
The initiative, right? Like it's all hands on deck when you're in a 10-person, 12-person outfit or environment. You can't point fingers at this person or, you know, let's just wait for old John to get back to us on this and that and the other. You don't have John. You got to make things happen. So if you're, I guess, you know, for those people who are frustrated at environments where you can't get stuff done, then startup land is a great place to really hone that, put the energy in. And, you know, I've loved it, never looked back, and it's been, you know, amazing.
Yeah, man. Because you've worked at so you've had like some Afterpay, like, you know, you've worked at Laybuy, Harmoney, you know, NZX, you know, like HP, now your own thing, right? Like you've seen some massive growth and some real particular challenges.
Yeah, I was lucky.
Did you design like your career, or was it you just chased where the opportunity landed, or?
It's the old Bruce Lee adage, right? Be like water, I think is the key point. I think you do need to have a little bit of a vision and a purpose. And, you know, my passion is to build. My passion is to make people's lives easier through apps and software. And so that was just my underlying kind of desire, right? And you just go where those opportunities, you know, allow you to do that, and you stay away from things that don't. And I think ultimately people realize that, oh wow, you're passionate about this, and they put you on your team, on their team. So I've been very fortunate.
And you've had opportunities where you've completely jumped different tech stacks and the likes. So like some people I know, they're like, oh no, like I'm only a Ruby developer, or I'm only an X developer, you know, and so you've jumped ship many times, right? And so
reinvention, I think in the last 10 years, that kind of polyglot kind of, you know, ideal was not as perpetuated, you know, like 10, 15 years ago, PHP developer, Ruby developer. But to deliver a modern experience, you know, in the cross-functional team, in a team that's effective, you do need to know your JavaScript from the front end to your back-end technologies as well. So I would say, hey, look, anyone that can strive to be a polyglot is, you know, it's worthwhile to invest in being that, and as a developer and an engineer. And I think more people, you know, I'm definitely hiring for people who are polyglots as opposed to being quite single tracked. So yeah, I personally had to do that to get to where I am.
Would you have hired yourself as a developer now, knowing who you are as a founder? Like, if I'm talking about that coming from HP into a startup?
Yeah, look, I think you learn and you read different requirements, right? I think where I quickly understood what people were after in different industries, you know, if I were to pitch myself to a bank in my raw, honest self, I was diametrically opposed to the types of cultures that you may find in these kind of organizations. So it was pretty clear early on that, look, there's some cultures, and this was 10, 15 years ago, right? So people were still trying to figure out how to get off COBOL, you know? So I think it's changed clearly. You know, people do want people who think outside of the square, who be entrepreneurial, to bring new ideas to the table. But I think, which is great. So not bagging on banks. I think they're great now with different, you know, initiatives. But definitely I wouldn't have excelled in environments that really kept me in a bit of a box. Or Yeah,
and what traits do you look for? Like, so you're a CEO founder now, right? Obviously not a CTO anymore, but if you're putting your CTO hat on now, what traits do you generically look for?
Yeah, so inquisitiveness.
What does that mean, though?
It means, here's a practical example. It means taking a simple idea, maybe it gets thrown about in a Slack channel, for example, and actually going, I actually don't know what this guy means by this, that, and the other. And I'm actually going to dig into it. I'm going to take initiative to figure it out rather than wait for someone to educate me and enlighten me. That single trait alone, curiosity, inquisitiveness, is, I think, that key determining factor for me, because that shows initiative.
Yeah.
Shows that you're getting off your ass, you're actually trying to figure things out, and you're doing that with limited resources. You don't have the world at your disposal, just giving you everything that you need all at once. So I look for that as a key trait.
How do you interview for that? Like, how do you find that?
I put on my real quirky hat on and be real. I go off script.
Yeah.
I think those who are watching this, who have been in interviews with me, I throw them into just situations through questions and scenarios where they get put on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to drag out I'm trying to avoid the canned answers and replies from individuals. So a good
trying to
one.
get them to flow state, right, when they can just give you exactly what's
And
on
be
their
honest.
mind.
I think the honesty in I don't know. I actually have no idea, and okay, that's fine. But how do you get over the fact that you don't know something?
Yeah.
And the secondary trait is being able to be vulnerable and actually say I don't know. So I wear crazy hats sometimes in interviews, and try and put people on the spot and trying to get them off piste a little bit and draw out some of their personalities.
Yeah, nice. I think, like, for me, you nailed it for like generically across technology, right? When I interview a lot of people, I'm always looking for curiosity, especially in startups, right? I'm looking for someone that's going to pull at string without limited resource, without a whole team behind them, to be able to just say, oh, I need to figure that out, and then go deeper, and then talk me through the steps that they've taken once they did pull at the string, and see where they got to then, and then how do they socialize that again, right? So, man,
when you get a team of people like that and who can execute and write code and make things happen, man, you've got a high-performing product team that can ship. And if you can ship, means you're probably 99% ahead of everyone else. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Hey, so let's get into some of your key roles then, right, over your career. So what would you say pre you founding a company would be the defining one?
Yeah, look, it's my last role. So I got shoulder tapped to be the CTO of Laybuy, just when they were about 10 people. Strong.
So Laybuy is one of the buy now, pay later products.
Yeah, that's right. And I came off working on the Afterpay app, and sort of that led me to that role. And I was in a leadership position where I was the first engineer on the scene, right? And
family business too, right?
Yeah, it's a tight knit family business, and you are tasked with essentially scaling out the product and the culture, and I didn't know where it would take me and the whole business on the first day. But
what did you do? Talk me through your decision making in terms of, you're like, all right, holy fuck, I'm now the CTO and thinking about product and all the things.
Yep. So look, you have to rationalize what the expectations are from everyone, and for me it was pretty clear. I was pretty ambitious to take this little New Zealand made business and help Gary to really scale it out internationally. I think what I didn't realize was how the pace that I was able to potentially do that. And look, part of it was, how do you get good people in really quickly? And, not to do a plug for Talent Army, but, I rang Dan as one of the first things I did, and try and formulated a bit of a structure to the team. Yeah. So there was a bit of time, obviously.
But you were like type 8 client for Talent Army, right? Like, we always talk about clients that we want a true partnership. So we want to know warts and all, what are your challenges? We want to be able to tell you warts and all about the opportunity that you're going to get. And like, that for me shows maturity beyond years of experience, right? When you can sit down with, whether it be a recruitment agency or any services company, and say, hey, this is a teamwork for us to do it together, and this is how we're going to do it, and this is my plan. And so
I think one of the first things Dan sat me down and sort of have me consider, and I attribute success of the kind of hiring process to that one conversation, was how do you structure your team? How do you draw it out on a piece of paper? And, after that conversation, I drew boxes, and I was able to communicate that as a, kind of a plan to stakeholders to get sign off, to get approved. And, it starts with people and it ends with people. And what the outcomes were for the business is the feedback that I got was that we were able to ship and execute and go from kind of a family business to scaling all the way to IPO, to dealing with millions of customers, billions of dollars worth of payments, right? So look, it's possible. And this is where I think I want to share with the viewers is you can do it in New Zealand. We can build global businesses. We just have to plan, structure our thoughts, wrap yourselves around like really smart people, and then just execute really well. And I was really lucky to have like really good engineers around me and a great product team in the end. Yeah.
What is it about Kiwi companies that you think that don't think big enough early enough?
Look, it's cultural. It's, I've been bantering on about tall poppy syndrome for a long, long time, but we have to just cross that chasm, right? We need role models. So, my role models from a Kiwi kind of startup perspective is someone like Peter Beck, right?
Yeah.
I use, talk about rockets.
Yeah.
We're putting rockets into space, people. Like
From New Zealand.
From New Zealand out in Gisborne. This is big.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why are we not talking about this? Why are we not, leveraging that? And we've got rocket scientists, it's always the old kind of, I'm not you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know this and that and the other. But we've got the rocket scientists. We can do more than just, and I'll maybe.
Do you know that NASA is investing $20 million, I think it is, into New Zealand?
Crazy.
Yeah, because of the success of what we've been able to achieve. I think it may be even more. I'll look that up. Someone told me recently, and I was like, where's that money going to go? And they were like, it's the start of the space ecosystem in New Zealand, and it's only going to get bigger. I think
in Dawn Aerospace, you've got a company making magnets, for space shuttles and whatever, right? And so the cultural aspect, I think the attitude to risk is something that we have to beat it out of us. Look, when you have an idea, when you're trying to build something, there's more in our part of the world, more people that will slag it off than actually just promote it and just go, good on you. Like, I'll be supporting you, even in all sorts of ways. And
did you find that when you set things up?
Yeah. Let's call it out. It's it happens. There's always more reasons why you're not going to succeed than the differences in attitudes, say from when you go outside of ANZ, for example, when you hit into APAC to US, they do things differently. A good example is I was talking to a Singapore-based fund, and the Singapore government over there, they're throwing visas and passports at anyone that has talent and skill.
Yeah.
And going, we'll pay for your relocation. We'll move all your family. They'll have good schooling. We're going to invest in you. You're going to come and bring that culture into our environment, and the government's going to fund it, right? So it's proactive. We need to sort ourselves out, I think, here in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to me. Like, as a recruiter in COVID times, right, when we had nirvana here of we had no COVID at this one stage. We had every single person from around the world wanting to come to New Zealand, and we weren't giving visas out. We weren't letting people move here, and we still struggle to do it now. It's not helping us to go forward.
I mean, we were trying to get someone from San Fran, I think through you guys, and we lost him because
Yeah.
we just couldn't get a visa. And man, it'll be great to have someone who transfer that kind of scale and knowledge to New Zealand.
Just
right?
unlocks levels, right? And I think this is what people don't realize is they think, it's hard and challenging hiring internationally, but you're getting someone who's already written the playbook for the next stage that you're looking to grow into. And, they've read the playbook, they've lived the playbook, and then they're going to bring it in and help teach you the playbook. And so,
Yeah, and iron sharpens iron, and it's transferable. When you're learning off someone that has the skills and learnt it from, say, a FANG company,
yeah.
man, you can't learn that at uni.
Yeah.
That is invaluable. Let's bring these people in. And you're starting to see a little bit of that here and there in little pockets of, possibly, Americans trying to, build a doomsday bunker, and you kind of meet them around, and some of them live in Waikiki. But we it's not just capital. We need that kind of talent as well.
Yeah. So tell me through, because you took the path into entrepreneurism through a venture, right? And so for those that don't know, you worked at what was Dovetail, is now Paloma,
Correct.
Rebranded, and they have a couple of different ways of working. Massive fan of Dovetail. Just shout out to Dovetail. Like, if you are looking for an agency or a venture partner, great team, really cool. You decided to go back to Dovetail with your idea. And so first and foremost, how did the idea for Authsignal come about?
Yeah, a good place to start. So look, prior to Authsignal, I was typecasted into FinTech roles, right?
Yeah.
And what I found was there's a lot of responsibility dealing with people's money and private information, and there is a huge balancing act in trying to being really good stewards and having that responsibility, but also you kind of want to make the user experience really seamless. And the tricky part is there's actually very few tools and products that help these apps go, look, we're going to make our system really secure, but also not lose people along the way and make it too hard to access your accounts. So what I found was, in the different businesses, and particularly in the buy now, pay later scene, you have to build these things from scratch. There's very few technologies that help you just achieve that very quickly. So Authsignal is a product that I wish I had when I was scaling up these buy now, pay later apps, Afterpay and Laybuy, so that to reduce the time to market for these what we call digital identity solutions. Because, hey, look, it's topical. Your account security, your identity is at risk, and there's an onus on these platforms to look after it.
How would you explain Authsignal to someone who might be a tech salesperson that's not technical, right? And so...
Yeah. Okay. So look, we're all familiar with username and passwords, right? To get into your accounts, transfer money. Look, newsflash, that's a really shit way of logging in and protecting your account.
And so having one password across all of your accounts.
Like password 123 and my birthday. And it's just psychologically, sociologically, we all go to equilibrium. We all do the same thing. We all choose birthdays and our dog's name, right?
Yeah.
So, but for then we've got different technologies that kind of, layer on security after the password. But what Authsignal is really interested in is, how do we remove passwords completely? How do we leverage technologies that, I'll bring up my phone here, that use your biometrics, the fundamental kind of immutable things that formulates your identity. It's your biology, it's the fact, your fingerprint, your eyes, the distance between your eyes and your nose. And then how do we drop that in so that the next time you log in, or the next time you deal with your bank, insurance company, government, instead of typing in your username and passwords, you're looking at your phone and away you go, you're in. You want to send $10,000 to buy some cryptocurrency, put your finger on your thumb, whatever, touch ID, and away you go, right? So we're looking at just changing the world in that sense, and and make life easier and more secure, really.
That's a big industry, man. Like, it's a huge industry to go after. And obviously you're going after it in a big way. Like, Authsignal is making some big waves already, And so, like, what's the size of that industry?
So it's in the billions. There are, it's anywhere from 20 to 30 billion is our kind of rough estimate. Let's just take those SMS codes that we use. They cost money to send SMSs to validate your identity, and those are, I could steal your phone number, so it's not good.
Oh man, I get so many robo SMS messages now, the scams all the time, that I just don't trust any SMS, right? And
what people don't cost in is what happens when someone breaches your system, when someone can get into your bank account, when someone can assume your whole identity, right?
Yeah.
We've wrapped up our digital identities with these bits of information, username, password, and the worst thing is, you ring your insurance company up and they ask you what your date of birth is and where you live, and you can then assume that identity, whether or not it's you or someone else, right? So it's our world of working digitally and kind of non-face-to-face, COVID accelerated that, has fundamentally changed. And if we don't improve the processes and controls, then we're all in for a bit of a hammering from scams, fraud, and ultimately, that's a total kind of invasion of someone's identity and privacy, and it's like opening the doors while you're taking a dump. I mean that's who wants that?
I like to dump in peace, man. So is there big things in New Zealand that have happened that most people don't know about,
so look, we've won't name names, but we've had our largest data breach just a few months ago, and already we're seeing the unintended kind of unknown consequences of that. And let me just, I guess, share a bit of insight. When that email, if you were affected by these breaches, you tend to get an email from that company saying that they're sorry for that. But the consequence of someone having your identity, what that means is you could fool multiple systems with those really privileged and private information. I was just coming in through the door here, and I got a guy who knows me who sort of stopped me and told me that he got his bank account cleaned out because someone was able to take those private bits of information, where he lived, the last 3 places that he lived, and all these kind of things, stitch together a story, go to the New Zealand Transport Authority to create a driver's license. And then went to the bank, created a new card, and take money out of the account. Now, the last kind of big cyber attacks globally all started from someone being able to assume someone's identity. And they're going all out, these bad actors, right? They're trying to pretend like you're the son or wife of a major CEO. They found their details somewhere in the dark web. They assumed that identity, and now with generative AI, you can do deep fakes and sound like the wife. And, and it starts there. The wife then can do things like phishing. Yeah. Oh, hey, hun, what's the password that you use to get into that account? Or you've just got a code. I'm just trying to get into that. And unknowingly, we're human, we fail. Yeah. And then you get a CEO being compromised and potentially have other ramifications, right? So cyber criminals hop. So I think the lesson here for everyone listening, take those breach notices seriously, demand more out of your service providers. And if you've been a victim of those types of fraud, just make some noise. And at Authsignal, we're here to kind of change the world and offer you.
So is Authsignal, because the biggest roadblock, right? Well, the biggest opportunity for breach is human error,
Correct.
Right? So is Authsignal largely just trying to take away human error?
We're trying to, so the human error aspect is phishing. It's being able to convince someone to punch in a code or give away their password, right? So we have technologies now that are quote unquote unphishable. So your biometrics, unless it's face off, with all SWAT, if you can get someone else's face, or voice or thumbprint, it's very difficult to then authorize something when you don't have that biometrics in front of you, right? So you can't just go, hey, can I just borrow your thumb for a moment? You can't do that. So we're building technologies to help companies bridge towards that form of customer experience. Look, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
We're still pretty wedded by with passwords, but there's some like pretty awesome New Zealand enterprises that we're working with that are going, actually, let's just ditch passwords altogether. Let's just make the customer experience super like frictionless and secure.
Yeah.
And so you need to have that mental kind of like leap to go, actually we can do away with passwords now, and we can implement technologies that we're helping kind of build and drop into any solution.
Yeah, man. Interesting. So then you've obviously had this idea, you've thought about it a lot, you've decided, I'm going to leave a well-paying CTO role and I'm going to go and eat some ramen noodles for the next wee while and build this thing. And so why did you take it to Dovetail, Paloma?
So I kind of learnt from, working with the previous founders that speed to market is key.
Yeah.
If you're slow, someone else will do it. And I previously worked with the Dovetail Paloma crew. I understood the capabilities. So I got along with them obviously straight off the bat. But I knew that I could turn this idea, that I had, and rapidly build a product.
Yeah.
Right. And the fundamental difference with, say, doing it yourself, bootstrapping, is, look, I could do this in my spare time, which is very, very valuable, that I want to set aside to spend time with my family, or understand what the ingredients are to accelerate the path to market. And in a venture studio, which is what Paloma, one part of what they do is they take entrepreneurs with ideas and wrap a whole team around them on day one so that you're hitting the ground running. One of the great parts of actually building this business was actually validating some of the problems that I face with some of the businesses that they were working with, some big, large US companies that they were servicing. And lo and behold, that they all suffer and all are going through the same problems that I had to deal with in all these jobs. And that adds to the validation, that builds conviction. And, we launched in August of last year. So we were about 9 to 10 months old, and we're already kicking some massive goals as well.
Yeah, awesome, man. Obviously we're sitting in Icehouse Ventures, right? And similar, same. I see some people down there and the ventures team at Icehouse working together, and I'm like, they're probably 3 months in having 12-month conversations, and you just don't get that when you're part-timing it, with four people who can only get together every Tuesday and Thursday, and, no one's got the cash to be able to jump in full-time yet and the like, so.
We need more the acceleration here in New Zealand, right? Because if we don't have the capital, then how else are we going to produce businesses rapidly, right? Yeah. It's the slow drip-fed kind of, I guess culture that we have is good for in some respects, but in terms of trying to get to that scale of churning out great companies, we need to do that better. And I think venture studios have a big part to play. And shout out to the Paloma team for helping me get started.
Yeah, awesome, man. Hey, so years ago, I was running an Australian recruitment firm, and I was trying to get closer into the startup world. It wasn't a place that most recruiters went to. When I first set up Telenami, everyone thought I was a fucking idiot. Don't go to companies that have zero money to try and recruit for them. But I was just fascinated by it. And so even when I was at this Australian firm, I was like, I want to get involved in it more. And so I was reaching out to a lot of people, and I was redesigning the office, and I thought, I'll name the office meeting rooms after startup founders that I quite liked at the time. And it was like just when Xero started kicking off and doing really well. And so I hit right up, and there's method to the madness of this story, by the way. I hit right up and I was like, Rod, I'm going to call a room after you. And he was grateful. He said, thank you. He emailed me back the next day after when this idiot young Aussie recruiter. And I said, I'd love to put a quote on the wall of something that you, like one of your quotes. And he said, he gave me a quote that I put up on the wall that really changed everything for me that day. And he said, it's not the big that eat the small, but the fast that eat the slow.
Yeah.
And New Zealand just doesn't know that. And that changed everything for me. It really is. Small, fast companies can kick the shit out of big companies.
It is the superpower. And, the ones that the success stories that we've seen and that we read about are those small companies that were backed, right? And being able to run fast, run circles around Goliaths. It's a superpower. We have it here. We intrinsically already have that capability, but we just, I think, need more guts, I think.
Yeah. Cool, man. So talk me through like the process of being in a venture, right? So you have a team around you straight away. You have a designer, I assume, a product person, or an engineer if you don't want to be the engineer, and you have all these things. And so they sort of come together and then build your foundation team to get you to an MVP.
Yeah.
Is that the case?
Yeah, that's right. So literally, I guess, you start with nothing and you go through this rapid iteration processes, right? And for some founders, they come in with a pretty kind of bigger, more vague problem statement, and that's the case most of the time. And what you do when you have good product people around you is try and refine that into something that's tangible and that's that first MVP. So I think for a lot of people, just having people that can help you really get to that kind of raw, iteration, that first iteration is
solve the first thing.
Solve the first thing is that biggest kind of help that everyone, someone who's just starting out with an idea is a great place, and a venture studio will help with that. I was lucky, I had a pretty clear idea. Where the venture studio helped me was validate that through their customer base. So that helped me. It's turning the problem statement into visuals, into something that is tangible that you can point to, and designers do a great job at doing that. And building a brand, I think one thing that startups kind of, I guess, sometimes forget is people do buy you for what you represent. Yeah. And visually, that's a huge part in communicating that, right? And your positioning. So I would say having these experts around you early, so that you've gone from, I guess, a crappy looking kind of website and proposition into 3 months later you are world class, world beating, is an important part of getting there quickly.
Yeah, man. I invest in companies. I get pitched all the time. We do the Fuck Yeah Fridays now, so we're getting like heaps of people reach out to us and say
deal flow, bro.
Yeah. It's like, so I see so many startups and so many things, right? And the constant thing that I see and feel is, I'm like, man, interesting product, probably solving a good thing there, but looks terrible, And I'm like, to be a global product now, to be able to compete on the global stage, we have to get better in terms of like the UI and the UX of a product. And a lot of engineers just can't seem to get that in their head when they found a product. It's so far from their vernacular in terms of like, I just want to build the thing, man. I want to build a thing. I'm like, yeah, build it, right? But you've got to get earlier. Like once you're taking that out to market, it's got to look good. Like Xero was proof in the pudding there, man. Beautiful design. What was their tagline? Beautiful accounting software. And so,
just by making accounting less excruciating was the superpower, right?
Yeah, and you're theoretically like a security product, right? Like security engineers. If we were to be horrible and typecast security engineers, probably the least interested in design beautiful software, right? They're like more interested in the complexity and nerdity of like, what is a cool technology solution? Yeah. But still, man, your product's beautiful, right?
And it's interesting you touch on that. The reason why consumers don't adopt these tools in their life is because there's a perceived understanding it's way too hard.
Yeah.
Right? They don't turn these, say multi-factor authentication. They don't turn it on because you're in the middle of the WOP and you want to do a bank transfer and your text message doesn't arrive. Yeah. Right. So there's some fundamental flaws, probably well-intentioned by security people, but the user UX is just, there's no UX and there's no security if they can't turn it on.
Yeah. Awesome, man. And so what do you like, how did you transition from CTO to CEO founder? Like what was that like? Because not everyone can do that, man. Yeah.
Look, there's some intrinsic core beliefs in my capabilities that I think helped. One, before you jump into it, back yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so I think, look, I've been very fortunate to be put into leadership positions in different various forms, and you know, tip to sort of young bucks out there, or young people out there trying to figure out or plan their journey is, you're a leader whether or not you have a title or not, right?
Yeah.
Like, grab hold of the opportunities in front of you, and I've been able to take opportunities, grow the leadership capacity, lead the team, help execute, help kick goals. And I just felt, you know, at the end of my last job that I was in a really good position to take the mantle of leading a company.
Yeah.
You know, being surrounded by founders, and learning off their traits, the good and bad, and trying to make sense of it was really helpful. I spent a lot of time studying the people that I worked for, and you know, at some point you get I guess there's a gut feel that you go, look, I think I know kung fu, or you know, kind of that, you know, Keanu Reeves, and you go, you know, I'm ready for this, you know.
Yeah.
And look, and some people's journeys are different. You know, you've got some founders starting companies when they're 20, but again, I think you know, based on data, the data actually shows that that late stage, and you know, in terms of experience, founders actually build some great companies. You know, the guy who founded LinkedIn is a great example.
Yeah, Reed and Co.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you for saying that to a 43-year-old man that has 3 early stage startups. You know, you give me hope. No, I believe that, man. I am the person I am now because of the information that I've been able to take in over the last 43 years, and you know, I have absolute confidence in my conviction now, because if I don't know the answer, I'll be able to figure it out really easily, right?
Yeah. By the way, it is my life's goal to speak into a really high quality microphone.
Is it?
So I can't wait to actually listen back to my kind of bassy voice.
Yeah, you got a good voice, man. You speak really well.
Thank you.
So
Thank
I
you.
think that's a hard thing for a founder, right? You suddenly become PR focused. Like, I've heard you on another podcast. I've seen you a lot online. You speak at conferences and all these things now. Is that something that you've always naturally been good at? Or
Interesting you bring that up. Jokingly, I attribute some of my skills to Toastmasters.
yeah.
You know, I only stuck at it for a couple of sessions. It just got a bit too intense for me. No offense to the people that join Toastmasters.
They're pretty hard out though, aren't
takes
they?
commitment, and you know, you got to you get very good at setting up chairs. It's something that they teach you at Toastmasters, but getting the opportunities to learn how to speak, and the biggest thing that I learned from Toastmasters is you actually don't have to rush through giving a presentation. You can take pauses. You can actually stop and think. And when you do that, you actually eliminate ums and ahs, or eliminate the possibility of saying something crazy or ridiculous or incoherent, right? So I take a lot of those learnings, taking a pause, and just
There's a really
thinking.
There's a really good TED talk out there that I encourage people to watch, and I'll put it in the show notes. The power of not saying and the guy that says it, he talks about how you take a real pregnant pause, you know, and maybe that you're thinking, and maybe that you're processing, because sometimes our mouths move faster than our brains, but taking that pause gives perceived confidence, versus when you're saying and ah, takes it away. And so a lot of people don't realize the importance of, you know, just being really confident in the ability that you can take a moment to really finish a paragraph that you've just talked about, and then start talking about the next one without needing to and ah and the likes. But yeah, you do well, man. So obviously the 2 sessions of Toastmasters was enough for you.
Well, thanks. I got my certificate, so there you go.
And so one thing that I was particularly impressed with you, and a lot of the information that I have from you these days is osmosis through Dan, right? Like, and Dan raves, he's a massive Justin fan, right? Massive Justin fan and Authsignal fan, is that he was like, oh man, he's really particular about his founding team. Like, really particular about the people that he gets in for certain roles and what he wants. And he's like, it's so refreshing because he knows exactly what he wants. And so what was it about the early stage team that you were looking for?
So I think I say this all the time. The early founding team effectively is make or break for the company. You get the wrong people in early, your chances of success is massively low, and the data, everything points to that. So the key ingredient for me is, from a founding team, how the people that are involved need to understand what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. And you be upfront, right? You be upfront about the challenges, about you be vulnerable to them around, the truth and the reality about being part of a founding team. Secondly, I like people that know what good looks like. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to have a ton of experience, because you can learn through osmosis, through reading, through studying what good looks like. And having the combination of people that understand the purpose and the realities of growing a startup or a company, and then taking that understanding of what good looks like and this is how I should execute, is a winning combination. And that just keeps, that just will become the culture. They'll hire people that share that same values, and then sooner rather than later, the execution works, and you scale and you hit traction, and you build great businesses. So, look, I like talking to Dan and Talanami because there is that shared kind of people first thinking, and I think some people just solve problems by throwing money at things. Yeah. Some people solve problems by throwing the smartest people in the room, just brute brain power. But it's more than that, clearly.
Yeah, man. How do you get to these, man? How do you get the knowledge of being a leader? Where do you, because like you're demonstrating verbally and through past, really good leadership abilities here. Where did this all come from?
Nurture, nature, it's a standard argument, but I think experiences play a part in being humble and have the humility to draw upon failures. From a nurture point of view, I was born in Singapore. I moved here when I was 12. That gave me actually a bit of a, life experience. I came to New Zealand by myself with the blessing of my parents, of course. But I turned up at the airport with my luggage bag going...
At 12?
At 12. Going, look, I don't fit the box and the mold in Singapore. Really appreciate that kind of formative years, but I really just want to do it somewhere else. And I was very lucky to have parents that backed me there. So that helped.
Where the fuck do you go at 12? Like, did you go into a home with... Yeah.
I did. Yeah, it's I was an international student.
Yeah.
Out in the wop-wops of Christchurch. So shout out to those people who are listening from Christchurch, from Lincoln.
I've met a bunch of people who did uni with you in the entrepreneurial thing, and they're like, "Yeah, Justin," and then reference, and so man, it seems like it was a real tight crew back down in South there.
Yeah. The entrepreneurship club is where all the geeks hung out. So we spent a lot of time together, and it's great to see, like I mentioned, some awesome businesses. Some of them have backed me. Yeah. So having a tight group, and again, like, it's possible. We have great fraternities. Yeah. We don't make a big deal about it, but if we put enough time, it can rival the types of fraternities and groups of Silicon Valley and Singapore and Melbourne and Sydney. It's possible. I'm living proof that my peers who have done very well are. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's what we're trying to do with this podcast, right? Is just showcase that there is so many fucking amazing New Zealand heroes in startup, right? Totally. Like, that we need to champion and listen to these voices more than hearing every other American podcast. Like, listen to them as well, right? They're great. But we just have so many awesome people here doing really fucking cool shit. Yeah. Probably just not used to talking about themselves so much, and so... Well,
thanks for drawing it out of people, right? The shy kind of Kiwi kind of, hiding behind the bushes. Well, we need to be given platforms and a bit of encouragement.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, for me, like, so when I say to someone, hey, that was really interesting. You should come on the podcast and talk about that. Or that's usually how now, for me now, guests, right? Like I'll be chatting to someone. We're pretty fortunate that lots of people want to come on the podcast now. And so I have to have a person that manages it for me because I'm super emotional. And I'm just like, you get a car. Everyone comes on the podcast, right? And I'll never be able to stop doing anything other than podcast. But one thing now, like if I'm talking to someone and I'm just like, man, that's really interesting. Like I'd love you to come on and explain that on the podcast because I think lots of people would learn from that. And the usual answer is, I couldn't do that. My voice, no. Like, I'm not a person that should be on a podcast. And I'm like, well, neither am I. No one is. Like, who the fuck, right? We're just interesting people sharing stories because it may help someone. And if you're lucky enough to take that elevator back up, send it back down. But one thing that Jono said to me, was it Jono that you said to me? Yeah, just yesterday. He said, send that elevator back down, but make it easier for someone to take it back up, right?
Yeah.
And by you and other people coming on the podcast and talking about this stuff and talking about your highs and lows, that's what we're doing, right?
Perfect. Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity, and I hope others sort of follow.
Yeah, man. I think so before we let you go though, right?
Yeah.
Where do you see Authsignal, in 5 years from now?
Look, we're addressing a big global problem. Every login box in the world is a potential customer of Authsignal. Every customer interaction, from how you deal with government to banks, insurance companies, we want to transform that. So, look, we're not trying to pussyfoot around our ambition. We're trying to build a global billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
We need people that believe in us.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we already have the ingredients, and we've been kicking massive goals, and you're already using us. And if you're a customer of this one particular company,
I heard about Bix called me and he was like, you wouldn't believe who we're working with now. And shout out to Paul Bickley, by the way.
Yeah,
awesome guy.
So we help companies like that just kick ass, give a great experience, keep customers' accounts secure. And there's plenty out there for us to build upon. So, look, we want to aim for the stars, put a rocket into space, figuratively, and hopefully bring a few people on the journey with us.
Awesome, man. I love that so much. And how can we, as an ecosystem, support you to do that? Like, is there anything that people out there can do? Is there anything that I can do?
Use our product is the first thing. Get in touch with us. One, I think I and my team have a lot of experience in building consumer-facing apps that are secure, that process payments. So collectively, we've got about 3 decades worth of experience of Vend, Square, PushPay, Afterpay, Laybuy, and that's just scratching the surface. So if you're building those platforms now, if you need to have someone to just get a bit of advice on, and how should I do this, how should I do that, we've got a team that's just ready to help, and just pick up the phone, jump on our website, add me on LinkedIn, and let's talk.
Yeah, awesome, man. So final question for you, right, is if we're going, same thing for you, right? Like, so if you're trying to give someone some advice right now, and we're going to send them to the show notes for this one little nugget of information that you think they really need to go off and look at that, whether it be a book, whether it be a podcast, whether it be a TED Talk, whether it be a person, like what's the thing that you would say, pop that in the show notes because everyone needs to see that?
Yeah, look, well, it doesn't help that I'm actually not a big book reader. I read articles, listen to podcasts, but I think question and understand your purpose and values. Start with that.
Yeah.
Understand that clearly. And if you can get to the point where you know that, then everything else will just fall into place.
Yeah, man, that's a theme that comes up often with successful people that I chat to, man. So I think you're on the money. Hey, Justin, I know you're a busy guy. You're out there building $1 billion business, so I'm going to let you get on, man. But thank you so much for coming in, brother.
Thanks, Troy.
I look forward to continuing to watch your journey.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers, man. Hey, thanks so much for coming on, Justin. I just got a message actually from Alicia Mackay, previous podcast guest. It turns out she went to high school with you as well. And so that entrepreneurial club potentially could be the future leaders of New Zealand, by the way it's sounding out. And so, Justin, super interesting conversation. Really enjoyed it. Hope everyone can be like water, like Bruce Lee's famous quote, and sort of evolve and grow with this. And I hope we're actually giving you what you want with these podcasts. And so thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. If you're not subscribing, jump on now. and join the band. Thanks so much.
This podcast is produced by John Otaka from Empire Films.